Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I love cows.
And I am the sole member of the Shane W.O.
Welcome to episode 261, Bash at the Beach, 1997.
Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman.
Crash the Bash.
Mm-hmm.
It was so long. I was like, do we do it together? I was like,
That's
kind
what
of,
she said.
yeah. I was like a deer in headlights for a second, but we made it happen. Off the cuff. We've done this for 5 years.
Off the cuff, on the QT, and very hush hush. Sorry, I just watched LA Confidential recently.
So this is the fourth Bash at the Beach, produced by WCW. It would take place on July 13th, 1997, from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida, with an attendance of 7,851 people.
Bring your rollerblades, boys. Going to the beach.
Yup.
I mean, it doesn't make complete sense, but beachfronts, rollerblades, 97.
There's a boardwalk.
It checks out.
That's right.
Yeah,
Somebody's skating somewhere.
absolutely.
One form or another.
Mm-hmm. It's like I think of just Baywatch shots where it's like, oh, they're just like walking around the beach, and there's always somebody just who gets paid to ride rollerblades past
I
them.
mean, they're always ready.
Yeah.
But we are in Daytona Beach,
Yup.
Florida.
Florida.
So Shane, did you do what you did?
I did do what I do. Yes, here we are. Daytona Beach, Florida. So yeah, I did what I do. We've been to Florida a handful of times, and I brought a variety of what I brought today, or had brought to us. I looked around, checked to see what's the signature this and that of Florida, and I landed on, it's summertime, it's at the beach, so I figured we need something sweet, we need something cold. The official dessert of Florida is the strawberry shortcake. Mm-hmm. So I hopped on the old DoorDash and said, show me the strawberry shortcakes. And the first one that popped up stole my heart immediately.
That's what people get on Tinder for, too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I said Tinder, not Grindr.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Saw a picture on DoorDash of a strawberry shortcake that I just really wanted to take a bite of. And it's from a place here. I don't know. Are they outside of Oklahoma at all? Do you know?
Yeah,
I think
so.
I went for sure. Jason's Deli. I've only ever had them in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, so that's why I wasn't for sure how far they stretch, if they're nationwide or if they're just regional. But Jason's Deli's is pretty simple, but pretty damn good. It's just slices of pound cake.
They're in 29 states.
All right. Over half the country. Is there one in Florida?
I'm sure there is.
Show me Florida.
I mean, we were just saying how Jason's Deli, off mic, we were saying Jason's Deli is always mostly populated by older folks. So,
you're very right.
They're in Florida.
They are in Florida.
Yeah.
Yes. The first one I found was in Lake Mary, Florida. But their strawberry shortcake is pretty simple. It's just slices of pound cake, some fresh whipped cream, and strawberries. But it's got a good simple flavor to it. Nice and moist in the cake. The fruit is very fresh. The whipped cream, for being delivered, I was almost certain that it was going to show up and just be this flat, runny mess in the bottom of the
No, it wasn't
to-go
cool.
box.
It was like a hearty, fresh whipped cream.
You can tell that they actually make this there. But yeah, the to-go box was loaded, and for a $5 dessert, that's for delivery. I'm assuming it's even cheaper at the restaurant itself. So it's a hefty portion, and it is very easily shareable. I originally ordered 3, but they only had enough for 2, so I had them send me the 2, and that was still enough for 3 people to share. So.
Oh yeah, if I ate a whole one of those, I might just take a nap.
Yes.
Like, take it away, boys. It's weird that I've never had strawberry shortcake from a restaurant, but as a kid, it was a staple dessert in our house.
Yeah,
but
it's like
we always did.
It was always something we did for picnics
Yeah.
or out at the lake or something like that
Yeah.
because it was just easy travel. You'd bring your prepackaged little short, or either
The
a pound
angel-
cake or
the
those little
angel
things
food
that they
cake.
sold at the store
Yeah.
that had the little dent in the top of
That's
it.
what we always had was the angel food
Yep.
cake with the little dent in it, and then but we never did we never like made our own whipped cream. It was always just like
Cool
Cool
Whip.
Whip or the spray stuff, and
Yeah.
this made such a huge difference.
We did it
was
with
great.
Cool Whip. We did it with vanilla pudding before and then topped it with Cool Whip. Yeah, I want to say the time before that we had shortcake, or the strawberry shortcake, it was one that I had pieced together with
Oh yeah,
old pancakes from a restaurant and a little snack pack of vanilla pudding, and but this
No,
one is
it's
equally
great,
as good and a whole lot easier to achieve.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like, yeah, love strawberry shortcake. First time I've had one that was purchased, and I was like, why would anybody pay for strawberry shortcake? And they totally made one worth paying for.
Exactly. Yeah, if you've never been to Jason's Deli, they've got good sandwiches, they've got good soups, they have those big-ass baked potatoes that they load up with all kinds of deliciousness.
I mean, take your mom
Broccoli
there for
cheddar baked
yeah.
potato is...
Take your mom there for lunch.
Exactly.
She'll love it.
I mean, take your mom there for lunch, but maybe go there by yourself first just to make sure that it's something your mom's going to like, and
of course
just so
she
you
will.
can
She's a mom.
see what they have beforehand.
Yeah.
That way you can, if you're going out to lunch with mom, typically mom's going to pay, so
Oh yeah.
load it up.
If you eat in there, you can also get yourself an ice cream cone
That's right.
free of charge.
Oh, that's right.
Free ice cream.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
See, it's been a while since I've been in there. I'm reaching the age, though. I've got enough gray in my beard now to where I can probably just fit in unnoticed and not be one of those rowdy kids that just looks like he walked in high off the street.
You wouldn't look like that, but you don't look old enough to be one of the old folks.
Well, I appreciate
by any
you.
means. The gray is distinguishing. I would prefer to go gray instead of bald. I will be going bald.
Well, it won't make a noise into the microphone, but I'm still going to take a bite because this is just staring at me.
Oh, it'll
and I
make a
have to
noise.
take
It's
it,
probably a
so-
pretty gross one.
Yeah, I'm not going to get that close because
All right.
it's messy.
That's respectful of you.
Yeah. So here we go. Fuck yeah.
Well, something that would happen right around the same time as Bash at the Beach. I mean, we had an alien film last week
Oh.
with Men in Black.
We did.
Resurrection,
We had another alien film come out this week
not Independence
in
Day.
Contact.
Ooh, I love Contact. Robert Zemeckis before he fell off, but he has still a few more movies left in him. Contact rules.
Contact is Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And she basically, what's his name? It's basically like a Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk type character, but before either of those men were as successful as they are now, kind of pays, hooks up with her and like funds this big thing.
Okay. I thought you were going to say that was
It's
like the
definitely
alien they
more of
made
a
contact with. or
thinker.
something.
Yeah, it's basically like it's an adult science fiction movie, not a fun wacky. It's not a Mars Attacks or whatever. There's a series of movies like this from the late 90s. There's the De Palma one, Mission to Mars, where Gary Sinise goes and lives with the aliens at the end. Contact being another similar film. Contact much better. Contact is kind of the precursor to Arrival, and I think it's probably better than Arrival, but Arrival's fine.
So I remember when it came out, I was working at Blockbuster when it came out in theaters and when it came out on video, but I never watched it. I don't know why, but I just never
I
did.
remember watching it, and I was too young for it at 16 years old.
Really?
Like, I just like it didn't grab me.
I think that the thing was that I was younger than you when I saw it, but I had a small period of time as a kid where I was really into aliens. So I would if we had to go to the library in elementary school or whatever, I would just go find the UFO sighting books and stuff and read those. When I moved out here from California, we went the southern route because we drove here with a U-Haul and vehicles and things. But the
Did they not have National Geographic magazines in your library?
They did,
you could
but
see like topless people. And...
I was probably too young to even be interested in that, and I was such a good kid that I wouldn't have. I would have been like, oh, I shouldn't do that. But the Contact, I loved it, but I don't think I completely understood it. I was just stoked because it was an alien thing. But I recently, within the last few years, I rewatched it, but I watched every single Robert Zemeckis movie, which is quite a few of them. And there's plenty of hidden gems and plenty of stinkers looking at that last 20 years of his career. Yeesh. But Contact is a great one, and it held up extremely well.
What if I told you that George Miller was supposed to be the director of this film?
It would totally make sense to me. Because George Miller he's made every Mad Max film, but in between there's Witches of Eastwick and Babe, and Babe 2, Pig in the City.
That was George Miller?
Incredible movies.
He
He made Lorenzo's Oil, maybe one of the most heartbreaking movies I've ever seen. But he has a crazy filmography. I love George Miller, but I can totally see him doing Contact.
Yeah, he was actually the director that they had hired because Zemeckis turned it down at first, but pre-production started lasting a little bit longer than Warner Brothers wanted, and they were wanting to get it out by Christmas of '96, which obviously they got it out by July of '97. So they fired Miller, and Zemeckis then agreed to come on. But like Jodie Foster was already attached. But Ray Fiennes was supposed to play the part that McConaughey ended up playing.
Yeah, I did not know that. I feel like I should have known that.
That's
or at least I definitely heard it because I've also watched every George Miller movie.
How the hell does the same guy that's responsible for Mad Max also do Babe and Witches of Eastwick?
And Lorenzo's Oil.
Believe me, his filmography is one of the just like most wild.
Shane,
and how many Oscars has he won?
I got another one for you that's going to blow your mind even more. Happy Feet 1 and 2.
Did he at least win an Oscar for Happy Feet?
I think he did.
Okay.
I'm
sure he was nominated for Witches of Eastwick because I remember that one was nominated
he won a bunch
for a
of
ton of stuff.
He got Mad Max Fury Road won a bunch of awards. His last movie, which I think I may have been the only person in America that saw it, I actually really liked, but I can understand that it's not for everybody. But I highly suggest watching it if you want to watch basically an adult Disney movie. It's called 10,000 Years of Longing.
He won Best Animated Feature for Happy Feet.
Yeah.
His only other nominations are Mad Max Fury Road, Best Motion Picture.
But it won every technical award.
Yeah.
Best Director for Mad Max, Best Picture for Babe, and Best Writing for Babe.
Yeah.
And then Best Writing for Lorenzo's Oil. Those are the only things he's been nominated for.
Yeah.
But he won with Happy Feet. Yeah.
Which is crazy because I think Happy Feet stinks. I think Happy Feet 2 is better, but I don't love it. My favorite thing about Happy Feet 2 is that there's Matt Damon and Brad Pitt.
See 3,000 Years of Longing?
Yeah. That was his last movie, and I think that it's awesome, but I can see people not liking it. I think it's a very sweet and nice movie. And if you like Disney movies, but you'd like to watch ones for adults, I think it really works very well.
I think that there was a
bizarre
editing issue with that movie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's just nice to see. Like, George Miller is a freak and makes weird shit. Like, I was hoping for something with Babe 2 energy, and 3,000 Years of Longing has Babe 2 energy, which I love because I'm a big fan. I mean, the first Babe movie is a perfect family movie. Babe 2 Pig in the City is demented, and I love that.
Never let myself watch Babe 2.
Babe 2 rules. I own it. You can borrow it.
I own it too. I've never watched it.
It's
though.
awesome.
My review for 3,000 Years of Longing, I actually used a wrestling analogy. Who's ready for story time was Jen, baby.
I like 3,000 Years. I saw it twice. I saw it in the theater, and then watched it with my mom pretty recently.
So since
she broke her foot, and I was hanging out over there, and I was like, oh, we'll watch a movie, and it was on Amazon or whatever.
Well, enough about movies. Let's talk some Bash at the Beach.
Are we gonna bash it? Is it gonna be a real beach?
Well, I mean,
Let's find out.
You never know.
Video with footage hyping our main event starts. Giant and Lex Luger are angry at Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman for their attacks, as we see them getting beat down and spray painted.
Calling for revenge.
Poor Giant.
The Giant says, "What comes around goes around," and that he is coming for them.
Hey, he didn't rhyme. Remember
Yeah.
that?
We get the Bash at the Beach logo before Tony Schiavone welcomes everyone to the show, joined by Dusty Rhodes and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Not a stupid cowboy hat on anybody.
Dusty is a cowboy. He doesn't need the hat. Real cowboys don't need hats.
And Bobby is asked about DDP's mystery partner, responding that no one is talking, including Kurt Hennig. And we'll talk more about that, why it's a mystery, later on. Tony then turns to Dusty for his thoughts on the main event, with Rhodes saying it's the NWO's anniversary, but it might all end tonight with a bad outing from Dennis Rodman. If that's what breaks the camel's back, guys.
He is bad to the bone.
Mm-hmm. He's a bad... Well, he's not the bad man. I guess that's...
He's the worm!
He's a bad, bad man.
Yes, he's a bad guy. Before Billie Eilish, there was Dennis...
Wait, is she the bad guy?
I mean, she has a song.
Oh, okay, I don't know that one.
We go to our first match. Mortis and Wrath with James Vandenberg versus Glacier and Ernest, the cat Miller.
Hey guys, at least it's the first match on the show this time. I don't know if championing is the right word, but I've been slightly defending this whole thing to much of your chagrin, but at least it's in the right place on the show.
I don't know if I would call it the right place for that.
Actually,
because...
I don't. As we get to our overall thoughts later, this is not in the right place on this show.
I see where you're coming from, because we're going to need a piss match spot. We're going to need a piss match spot.
So I'm telling you guys right now, kind of my thoughts on the show.
Let the bashing begin.
Initiate bash.
So Mike Tenay joins the commentary booth for this match as he talks about the two groups attacking each other over the last few months. And the brawl is on before the bell even rings. But the Cat and Wrath both get tossed to the floor to leave the Cold One and Mortis shoving each other.
I also want to point out...
Snow on the beach?
No.
Okay, snow on the beach. Glacier got the snow, but they're bash at the beach, and I like that.
That, Mortis is supposed to be, like, the main guy in the group, right? He's the one who started it.
Yeah.
But he now gets second billing. I mean, not in your notes here, but on the actual screen itself, while you're watching the show, it says Wrath and Mortis. They're already just burying him.
Yeah, but
poor Canyon.
it's hard to tell when it's only two guys. Yeah.
So Glacier gains the advantage with back elbows, crouching Mortis on the ropes, followed by a turnbuckle smash to take him down. And Wrath jumps in the ring only for Miller to springboard in with a kick, before the Cold One and the Cat use some double teams on Mortis, including a clothesline and a spin kick from Miller. And Wrath gets the tag and uses his size advantage on the Cat. But Miller ducks a pair of clotheslines to hit multiple kicks, until Wrath catches a charging Cat to nail a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Wrath attempts a tight rope elbow drop, but Miller is able to avoid, bringing in Glacier for a double team, only for Wrath to just be too strong, shoving them into a corner when they charge out with a double drop kick for a 2 count. The Cold One grabs a headlock, but he's tossed to the ropes, where he punches away Mortis, only to turn right back into a bicycle kick from Wrath, sending Glacier to the floor, where Mortis continues the punishment by ramming him into a guardrail and a cannonball from Wrath off the apron. Wrath then grabs a chair and holds it in front of the Cold One's head, allowing Mortis to kick it right into Glacier's face. Wrath rolls him back in for them to double team the Cold One with right hands, clotheslines, a powerbomb neckbreaker combo, and an inverted Boston Crab diving leg drop combo for a near fall.
Fun stuff.
Mortis then heads up top for a moonsault, with Glacier moving out of the way and making the crawl to the corner, only for Wrath to run in and knock Miller off the apron.
Cutting off the tag. The crowd was pretty hot. Just saying. Maybe Ernest the Cat Miller's from Daytona. Maybe he's a Florida boy.
I mean, we've already talked about how there's like old people in Florida, and they get excited over a piece of candy crinkling in their pocket. So who knows?
Ooh, a butterscotch.
Wrath grabs the cold one for a chokeslam, only for the Cat to leap in with more kicks to both men, until another brawl erupts with all 4 men fighting. And Wrath is kicked out of the ring, but he trips up Miller and drags him outside, while Glacier delivers a DDT to Mortis, making the cover, only for the ref to be outside dealing with the others. So Vandenberg uses the opportunity to place a chain around the boot of Mortis, before also putting the foot on the ropes to stop the count once the ref is there. And James jumps on the apron to distract the cold one.
Finish him!
Who nails Vandenberg with a cryonic kick, but turns right into a chain-assisted super kick from Mortis for the pin
And the win.
Post-match, Miller does the platoon pose because he can't believe they lost. While Vandenberg says they finally busted that block of ice, as this was Glacier's first pinfall loss of his career.
Bum, bum, bum. I mean, we've been talking about it. It's like, oh, they've been like not letting him lose, but also
Not really giving him many opponents.
Yeah, not letting him get over either. The chain on the boot spot. I mean, we've seen so many loaded boot spots where like it's stupid and they don't like really connect or make any kind of real world sense. Chain on the boot looks cool, fun spot. It's great.
Easily hideable.
Yeah, it's neat. And then the other thing about that is that he puts his boot on the rope, but his boot was already underneath the ropes, which I thought was funny, but I get the implication.
What I also appreciated about that ending of this was that the announce team didn't play it off like he had kicked him in the face or the head with the chain boot. They even said, kicked him in the chest, because it was clear he didn't connect with the head like you're supposed to on a super kick.
They didn't do that thing where they flub it. WCW does a pretty good job of being truthful when things don't work in the ring. Like, even though they know what was supposed to happen, they're like, oh, he didn't get all of it, or it didn't quite connect, or whatever. Whereas in WWF, Vince McMahon will be like, oh,
kicked him right in the eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hit him in the
shoulder
midsection.
or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Shivani then sends us backstage where DDP is on WCWWrestling.com answering questions from fans while his dad stares a hole through the young intern.
I love cows.
But he just scoffs when I Love Cows asks for the identity of his mystery partner, joking that it will be Diamond Dallas Dad. He also scoffs when someone asks if Kim will be at ringside. Guess he just didn't like any of these hard-hitting questions.
I love cows.
Such a good screen name. It's so good.
Wonder if you're from Calgary.
Yeah, it makes me think of that video of the kid, like that early viral video. I like turtles.
Yeah, turtles.
Yeah.
So we go to our second match. Ultimo Dragon versus Chris Jericho for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. So the last time we saw this belt was at Super Brawl 7, episode 243, when Six would defeat Dean Malenko.
Boo.
Now, a couple weeks prior to this show, Chris would come out on a special Saturday version of Monday Nitro, challenging the winner of...
Special Saturday version of Monday Nitro,
Yes.
Well, I mean, it wasn't Westminster, but they obviously had some kind of sporting thing on.
A Saturday audio-only version of Monday Nitro.
Oh, wow.
That you could only get on WCWWrestling.com.
Were they just off TV that week, and they're like, well, we'll just put the audio out?
I wonder if they had a camera issue.
We'll talk about why in a few weeks.
Okay. Jesus. What am I supposed to do with that information?
Sit on it, Potsy. I don't know.
Chris would come out and he would challenge the winner of a Six versus Rey Mysterio matchup, which would lead to Jericho winning the belt in 30 seconds from a tired kid. But the next contender wouldn't be at rematch. It would be Ultimo, who defeated Chris on an earlier episode of Nitro. Because that's how, things work.
Yeah, I mean, Ultimo just skipping the line.
Yep. So Tenay sticks around for this match as well, as our competitors trade takedowns, mat holds, kicks, and athletic reversals. When Jericho would counter a Hurricanrana into a double powerbomb for a 2 count.
Double powerbomb, pretty cool.
Chris with a stalling vertical suplex as the crowd chants for 6, followed by a backbreaker and stretching the dragon over his knee. And Jericho misses a pair of clotheslines, but he locks on a sleeper, only for Ultimo to escape with a back suplex. Chris then sends Dragon to a corner where he leaps up and over a charging Jericho, who leaps up to the second rope and moonsault presses back onto Ultimo, followed by a Tiger Driver for a near fall.
I mean, what a combo.
Chris takes Dragon to the turnbuckles where they fight over a superplex, when Jericho would leap off with a dropkick, only for Ultimo to just drop to the floor to avoid. So Chris then springboards out of the ring with a plancha.
And this proves the point that I was just making, where the drop kick off the top is botched. He doesn't make contact with Ultimo Dragon, but Tony Schiavone plays it off as Ultimo Dragon avoiding the drop kick and falling to the floor, which totally makes sense, and I appreciate it. Don't treat me like I'm an idiot. I'm already watching predetermined fake fights.
I saw what I saw. Don't tell me I didn't see it.
Absolutely.
They return to the ring where Jericho heads up top again for an elbow drop, only for Dragon to get a boot up to the chin, allowing him to set Chris back on the turnbuckle where they fight with Ultimo crashing out to the floor eventually. Jericho then leaps out, but Dragon just drop kicks Chris in midair and goes for a suplex, only for Jericho to reverse it into a snap suplex of his own on the floor.
And this, last week we talked about Sasuke and Michinoku having a Super Juniors-esque match for a North American crowd. This feels more like a Japanese. It's like, we're going to the top again. We're going to the top again. Yeah, it's a much quicker pace. But this WCW fans have been accustomed to this over the last, 12 months. So Totally makes sense.
Chris rolls in and attacks Ultimo when he attempts to do the same, snapping the Dragon's neck on the ropes, followed by a springboard plancha that Ultimo ducks, sending Jericho hitting the floor hard. Dragon then fakes a tope suicida and goes to the apron to deliver an Asai moonsault atop Chris, leaving them both struggling to make it back into the ring in time. Once they're back in, Ultimo hits a Hurricanrana for a 2 count as Jericho gets his boot on the ropes, followed by a handspring back elbow, only for Chris to catch and drop Dragon before going into a La Magistral, but Ultimo reverses it into one of his own for a near fall, when Jericho would grab the ropes to break the count. They trade pin attempts, followed by the momentum of Chris taking them both to the floor, where they trade chops and kicks, when Dragon would try for an apron suplex, only for Jericho to float over and run the ropes to hit a shoulder block and a lion salt for a 2 count. Chris tries another lion salt, but Ultimo drop kicks him in midair. Goes for the tiger suplex, only for Jericho to block, so Dragon switches it to the sleeper, which Chris blocks as well. Ultimo nails a clothesline and a moonsault. Goes for the tiger suplex once more, but Jericho reverses it into a powerbomb, only for the Dragon to counter it into a Hurricanrana, which Chris rolls through on for the pin and the win.
Good stuff. A quote-unquote lucky win, which, makes me believe that Ultimo might be going to Japan or Mexico for a little while as this thing gets put on Chris. And Ultimo did not... It's a clean win, but Jericho got the best of him this time. But neither man looks like the better man at the end of the match. Intelligently done stuff.
We go to Mean Gene on the stage area, and he says he walked to Daytona Beach in his tux and got some strange looks, not understanding why, before also plugging the hotline, saying you won't believe who's backstage. Okerlund then makes his way to ringside, where Raven is in the crowd, and attempts an interview, when Stevie Richards would wave at him, so Mean Gene acknowledges him as well. Raven then waxes poetic about fate, the human race, emotions, and dreams.
This makes me want to fucking bite a bullet.
So it is written, and shall come to pass. He then addresses the rumors that he is DDP's mystery partner, saying it's the same question people have asked since his childhood. But the real question is, does Raven have any dreams to sell? Quote the Raven, nevermore.
Somebody fucking drown this guy in the ocean. We thought he stunk in ECW, but then he comes over here, and it's like, this is not what you want out of a wrestler, is a guy that quotes shit that you had to read in fucking middle school and is sad. Like, we have this, Sting is doing the Crow.
I have this question.
Okay.
So if he did it in a loud, boisterous voice and like swaying and was like all buff and everything, would you like it better?
Absolutely.
Because that's what Ultimate Warrior is. He's literally doing Ultimate Warrior.
But the Ultimate Warrior is
as an emo kid.
Okay, yeah, exactly, which stinks. But the Ultimate Warrior is completely unhinged and like feels like he's just making shit off the top of his head.
He's not.
Well, I think Raven is influenced by things that he thinks are like cool or poetic or whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure that the Trust and Hate and Love and Fate and I Don't Stun Social Graces is a lyric from a popular song that I meant to look up because I wrote it down. I was like, I gotta Google this because I feel like it's a chorus from like an 80s new wave song, and I might do that sleuthing here in a moment if it's true, but I feel like I've heard that in maybe not a Tears for Fears song because they're too clever, but something, you know, less of the lesser tier. But yeah, it's like if he just, yeah, I mean, if you've read The Crow, it's different than the movie. It's full of like poetry and like lyrics from like Joy Division and stuff, and it's like outsider underground comics. And the movie is more of a populist thing, but it has underground kind of moody music on it. And then Sting is doing The Crow, but he's doing the movie Crow, where he's just kind of like this anonymous badass. And Raven is doing the comic book Crow, where he's quoting Edgar Allan Poe.
Nevermore.
And it's like, I love plenty of goth music, but it doesn't make you cool or scary. It makes you kind of sad and weird. And that's not what we want out of wrestlers. And he looks great. He has a good look.
I'm just over Raven.
Yeah, absolutely. Stevie Richards does a great job here, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But of course he does.
Stevie.
Yeah.
Stevie's always been the star that has to stand behind that
Morose.
dull, sullen.
Yeah.
Quote him, nevermore. Go away off my TV to be seen, nevermore.
Do you think Raven would have worked in like the mid 2000s when like bands like Thursday and AFI got popular?
He was in TNA at that time, wasn't he? Or Ring of Honor, one of them. I
guess
don't know.
so. I guess people that listen to AFI probably aren't watching wrestling. I don't know.
I wish he would have just left Raven in ECW, and if he came back to WCW, he should have just come back as Scotty whoever.
Or just a different gimmick. I think the Scotty Flamingo gimmick is funny and kind of neat for an early 90s thing, but it obviously isn't great.
But they make an attempt at one point to like merge the two.
So Okerlund accuses Raven of feeding him Edgar Allan Poe gibberish when Stevie interrupts,
Mean Gene.
saying he has a scoop, followed by asking Raven to reveal the secret tomorrow on Nitro, only for Raven to slap Richards for saying this.
Yeah, I mean, that dynamic is good.
And I didn't look up what the secret is because I didn't really care that much.
Yeah. I mean,
We'll find out at some point
I guess
if it's important enough.
the whole point is
Saturn
that like
making
he's
his
going to show up
debut.
on Nitro tomorrow, so it means that he's in the company or whatever. Like, I think that's enough of it, but
So we're headed to our third match. NWO Japan. Masahiro Chono and Great Muta versus the Steiner brothers of Rick and Scott Steiner.
All this time, I didn't realize for some reason that Muta was in the NWO Japan.
He had just joined.
Okay.
Just recently. So the story behind this match was that nobody liked how the number one contenders match had gone down at Great American Bash. Us included. So a rematch was had, with the Steiners defeating Harlem Heat. And Rick and Scott demanded their shot at the Outsiders, but they were made to sign a contract, only for them to not read it first.
Stupid.
Always get your lawyers to check contracts, guys.
Are you new here?
And the contract stated that the Steiners had to beat Muta and Chono before they could face Hall and Nash.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody's mad about this. The Steiners versus Muta and Chono.
And I mean, Muta in full NWO gear,
Muta,
costume.
I mean, this is Muta getting... You may have seen it before, but
Freaky
his
mask.
crazy snake helmet.
Well, so actually, fun side story here about... So technically, the Great Muta was in the NWO. KG Muta was still running around as a face in New Japan.
I mean, come on. Of course.
And then, it's like early 98, KG Muta finally is like, yeah, I'm part of NWO too. At that point.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, it's like you're not tricking anybody, but it is fun. Silly, but kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something. I mean, the Muta makeup is always great, but just that
With the NWO.
black back with the NWO writing over his entire face, that was just
It looks
beautiful.
Great. It's the coolest thing NWO has done, is the Great Muta wearing NWO face paint. But more important than any of this, guys, guess what's back at Bash at the Beach?
It's Crab Cam.
Crab Cam! You know I love Crab Cam.
We haven't seen Masahiro since Sold Out 1997.
Oh, and
Episode
hopefully
238.
Hopefully this is better for him than that.
Or Great Muta since Wrestling World 97, episode 235.
God. Poor Chono had to be on that NWO show.
Do you remember who he faced?
Chris Jericho.
Good job.
And it stunk.
He's one up on you in the trivia for this episode.
It's all right by me.
I remember it because I was so disappointed.
So everybody brawls to begin until the Steiners are sent to the floor, but they return with top rope clotheslines to send the NWO out to the floor. And once it settles down, Scott faces Muta to start, where they trade strikes until Steiner lands a Tiger Bomb and a press slam, before also knocking Chono off the apron.
We get some Muta chants, so you know. That's how huge of an impression he made in, what was it, 88 when he came in?
Rick tags in and just completely scares Great Muta to the floor before returning to tag in Chono, who uses eye rakes and a Yakuza kick to take control.
I love that they call it a mafia kick, because they're like,
Because
we're
we're
not
in
gonna explain what Yakuza is. It's like, well, it's just the Japanese mafia.
Yep.
Masahiro asks for a test of strength,
You sure about that?
only to use a cheap shot. But he
He knew what
then
he was doing.
charges into a back body drop, sending Chono out to regroup. Now Muta and Scott both tag back in, where again they trade strikes, until Steiner is sent to the ropes, where Masahiro gets a knee to the back, only for Scott to just absorb it, knock Chono down, and return to Great Muta, placing him on a turnbuckle for a superplex. But Chono makes a save and drops Steiner with an electric chair drop. And Muta capitalizes with a handspring back elbow, a bulldog, a flash elbow, followed by Masahiro coming in with kicks, before heading up top, only for Scott to meet him there for a super belly-to-belly suplex.
Damn.
And Rick comes in and cleans house with Steiner lines, belly-to-belly suplexes on both men, followed by a flying bulldog on Great Muta for a 2 count, as Chono makes the save. A Pier 6 breaks out with the Steiners handing out more suplexes that takes Masahiro and Rick to the floor, while Scott goes to the second rope, only for Chono to run Rick into the ring post to escape,
Posted.
making his way to Scott to hold him, allowing Muta to deliver a super Frankensteiner. Rick again pulls Masahiro out to the floor before entering the ring, only to receive a dragon screw leg whip from Muta, followed by a handspring back elbow, which Steiner catches and drops him with a belly-to-belly suplex for a near fall, as Chono again breaks it up. Scott's back up and he nails a Frankensteiner on Muta, and he yells at Rick to make the cover, only for Masahiro to pull the ref away, who begins to admonish Chono in a corner, allowing the Steiners to hit a Doomsday DDT for the pin and the win. Post-match, Scott looks at the camera and tells the outsiders they're coming for them, that there's no more hiding. I bet they can find some other loophole to not have to defend the belts.
Perhaps.
I'm sure of it, but as long as it's not Steiners and Heat for 6 months, or Heat and the fucking Public Enemy for months, like
That's their name.
Steiners and
What about Vicious and Delicious?
who's delicious?
Buff Bagwell.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, I got a little tingle in my heart when Scott yelled at Rick, because it was like, is this it? Is this where it's happening? Are we getting closer to the birth of Big Papa?
Yeah, I mean, this was good. Scott, has recently dyed his hair. He's got a different look. He looks bigger every time we see him. Rick still, hugely popular. The thing I noticed on the walk-in was Muta had his crazy helmet with like the snakes on his shoulders.
Yep.
Rick
Hit the camera and crack the screen.
Yeah, Rick came out with a leather jacket that had silver bulldogs on his shoulders, and it's like, I think that he just also had that, but it was just a funny, juxtaposition for sure. I love Rick, and I always will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was good. It's not like Hase and Steiner's,
No.
but I mean, that's top tier big boy bullshit.
We get that in Japan.
We do get that in Japan.
Not on a WCW
Also,
show with 9 matches.
Yeah. Also, Chono and Muta are not going to take those bumps. Not at this point in their career.
Not at this point.
They would have a few years ago.
Yeah.
Even then, Chono was never the fucking, bump guy.
No. So we go to our 4th match. Juventud Guerrera, Hector Garza, and Lizmark Jr. versus La Parka, Psychosis, and Villano 4 with Sonny Onoo. And we got a story behind this match, guys.
Do we? Is Mike Tenay going to tell us about it?
No, but I am.
Okay.
Parka had started swinging chairs, specifically at Super Callow, breaking one over his head and back. His antics would catch the eye of Sonny, adding him to his list of clients. So when La Parka and Psychosis attacked Callow, Hoovy would make the save. Now Guerrera was also teaming with Garza in a feud with the Villanos, so this bout combines all the mini feuds, except for Callow, who must be hurt because he's replaced by Lizmark Jr.
And they're all second-generation wrestlers.
Very true. And the last time we saw Garza was at Royal Rumble 97, episode 236. He was in that fun little luchador match on the Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah.
And Villano 4 at Super Brawl 7, episode 243.
Garza is the uncle or something like that of current superstars.
Angel, Garza,
and whatever they're calling Humberto.
Yeah, the Lizmark, I don't remember seeing him before.
This is the first time we've seen Lizmark.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I do remember seeing Villano before.
Yeah, and see, I was trying to figure out when they showed Lizmark, like, is he actually a wrestler, or is this somebody that's, like, going to rip the mask off and be Chris Jericho or something like that?
He's definitely a wrestler, because they do some wild shit in this match.
So as the luchadors begin entering the ring, you can hear Heenan yell, "Wait a minute, we need Tenay."
There he is.
Which, of course, we get. So Psychosis and Lizmark started off with some back and forth action when Hector flies in with a springboard arm drag of Psychosis, followed by throwing Lizmark Jr. up in the air to drop kicking as well. Villano jumps in to fight off his opponents with right hands, clotheslines, and chops before getting his boots up to the chest of a diving Garza, only for Hector to rally right back with several more springboard arm drags, sending number 4 out to the floor. Garza drop kicks Villano, trying to get back in the ring, followed by attempting a moonsault, only for number 4 to avoid, so Hector nails a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Parka and Guerrera then jump in the ring with Juvi avoiding a charging Parka before multiple head scissor takedowns and a monkey flip of Parka over the ropes. Guerrera with another head scissors of Parka onto the concrete, so Sonny comes over and delivers some kicks to Juvi.
I mean, that's his gimmick now, right? He's not much of a yeller. He's a kicker.
Parka grabs Juvi for another Onoo kick, but Guerrera moves in time, causing Parka to take the blow. And Sonny has to calm down Parka by offering him money, while Psychosis misses a running charge into a corner inside the ring, allowing Lizmark to do a handspring, only for Parka to hit him from behind, holding him for Psychosis, who goes for a clothesline. But Lizmark Jr. avoids, causing Parka to take the blow again, leading to them arguing. Now Villano and Psychosis try for a double clothesline to Lizmark, who again is being held by Parka. But again he avoids. So Parka shoves his teammates, allowing Lizmark to chop Parka and run away, where Garza leaps in off the top with a crossbody onto Parka, while Psychosis and number 4 break up the pin with sentons, leaving all 3 Rudos laying on the mat. Juvi then flies in with a springboard dive atop all of them, with Hector making a cover for a 2 count before they dropkick all of them out to the floor.
How rudos.
I mean, it's wild in the streets, guys. I do love it where they're like, just run back the spot.
The Technicos then triple tope con heel over the ropes atop their opponents, followed by Guerrera rolling Psychosis back in for a springboard dive, only for Psychosis to dropkick him in mid-air before delivering a super victory roll for a near fall. And Juvi's worked over in the opponent's corner before Guerrera gets his boots up on a charging Parka, but he then gets monkey flipped right onto Psychosis' shoulders and taking him down with a hurricanrana, which is a really cool spot.
Yeah.
Garza with a springboard moonsault onto Parka to take him down, while Lizmark does the same to Villano, all for 2 counts. Psychosis and number 4 then whip Lizmark Jr. and Hector towards each other, but they stop and avoid their charging opponent, who run into each other, allowing them to do a rowboat star in the middle of the ring.
I mean, we saw the star moderately recently, and I mean, I guess it's a lucha staple.
Parka steps into the middle of it and catches Juvi charging in, lifting him up into a rack before just dumping him onto Lizmark to end the hold. And Garza's left alone in the ring versus his opponents, but he ends up sweeping Psychosis' legs that sends him crashing into his teammates with a double dropkick, sending Parka and Villano out to the floor. Psychosis then nails a clothesline to Hector and heads up top, missing a flying splash, only for Lizmark to then leap in with a flying splash of his own, but Psychosis moves, giving number 4 the chance to fly in with a splash, which Lizmark Jr. avoids, followed by Juvi jumping in with a flying leg drop that Villano rolls out of the way of, before Parka flies in with a splash as well that misses as well, leaving everyone laid out on the mat.
It's one of those things where it's like, this is like probably just pulling on lucha trends that we are so not used to, and they aren't completely divorced from Japanese or American wrestling trends. It's like, we know if a guy has a leverage pin, the ref doesn't see it until the 3rd time. Stuff like that.
Yep.
If a guy reverses a move, he might nail it the 2nd time, or if he misses it the 1st time, he'll get it the 2nd time. You go back to the well, and now the guy knows it, and you fail for not being creative or, thinking that underestimating him. But this is much more musical theater.
Juvi's dropped with a belly-to-belly suplex by number 4, followed by him heading up top, where Guerrera meets him there, along with Garza, only for Parka and Psychosis to then get underneath them for a Tower of Doom. But Lizmark runs in to drop-kick his opponents, sending everyone crashing into the ropes and out to the floor, causing Villano to also fall off of the turnbuckle. Lizmark Jr. then nails a back handspring splash onto number 4 before drop-kicking him out to the floor, followed by a top rope crossbody atop him on the concrete. Parka then dives over the ropes with a corkscrew plancha atop Lizmark, before Hoovy jumps off the back of Hector over the ropes to land on Parka, followed by Psychosis being back body dropped out onto everyone by Garza, who then climbs to the top for a corkscrew plancha of his own onto everyone.
It's crazy to think that, like, why is there no... I mean, there might be some, but I'm not aware of any. Like, incredibly bad but high-risk Mexican action movies. Like, the shit these guys do, if they did it on camera in, like, a Bruce Lee-style film of the, like, 80s, but they're, you know, taking out the, like, cartel or other gangs, it would be so goddamn fun.
Hector and Psychosis make it back into the ring first, where they hit each other with lariats for a double KO. When Villano number 5 would make his way down to the ring, switching places with his brother and jumping in with a leg drop on Garza for a near fall. Number 5 continues with a clothesline for a 2 count before Psychosis tries to help by holding Hector, only for Garza to move in time, so Villano 5 clotheslines Psychosis out of the ring. Hector capitalizes with a springboard missile dropkick and a standing moonsault for the pin and the win.
Nice try. Sorry about your damn luck, Villano number 5.
Twin Magic didn't help out.
That's right.
No. I honestly watched this, but I was like, I can't keep up with it. And I didn't even catch that there was another Villano that showed up.
Mm-hmm. Because I think it was Parka that was on the outside, keeping the other one blocked so the referee couldn't see him.
Post-match, we get highlights, but the brain says, "Here, Tony, let me handle this one, and I'll show you how to call a replay. Take it, Tanae."
Beautiful.
I mean, come on, Bobby. We love it.
Bobby was on one tonight. He was great.
Yeah, this was... We've seen Dusty be too much, and we've seen Bobby be too much or phone it in, but Bobby's feeling himself. He got enough sleep. He's hydrated.
Yep.
So we're headed to our 5th match. The Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, with Jacqueline and Jimmy Hart, versus the Crippler, Chris Benoit, in a retirement match.
Career match.
Mm-hmm.
So the story behind this match was that these guys do not like each other.
I mean, and they
have
haven't
been
for a while.
feuding over the past year over a woman. And on the previous week's Nitro, Sullivan would break a chair over the Crippler's head before running out of the ring, accidentally knocking over Jackie as he left.
Uh-oh.
That's why she's mad.
And she didn't take very kindly to this, and they began to argue.
I mean, yeah. As Sullivan walks out, Jacqueline is upset and jawing at him. And I needed the context, and
That makes more sense now.
You know, Matt brought it to us, and I appreciate that.
And if anyone's wondering where Woman is,
Yes.
she's been released from the company because of the real-life drama between her and her ex-husband.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. It's today. If that happened, guys would be like, "Yeah, I'm not doing business. We won't have the match." But here, Benoit and Sullivan are about to do it.
So the two just go right after each other with right hands and kicks, followed by the Taskmaster suplexing Benoit over to the floor. Sullivan whips the Crippler into a guardrail before Jackie does the same, but Benoit monkey flips her, only for Jacqueline to land on her feet and deliver a clothesline, allowing the Taskmaster to get back on the attack.
Yeah, Jacqueline, so physical.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite remember it.
I kind of forgot about it too.
Yeah. And yeah, she's kind of the more active China almost at this point, as far as like ability. She's also quite a bit smaller, bigger bust.
Height-wise.
Yes, bigger bust.
Yeah.
She's not as definitely not as strong as China, but China could whip my ass, and she's dead.
The Crippler low blows both of them, followed by just tossing Jackie onto Sullivan, knocking him down.
I mean, Lobo and a lady, always funny.
Kick me out of my
I mean,
vagina.
we all know that. I mean, we don't all. I don't know from experience, but I imagine that it also hurts.
So the brawl continues down the aisleway to the beach set, where Benoit is tossed into the surfboard hut, with the Taskmaster smashing the boards over the back of the Crippler. Jacqueline jumps back in with more right hands, while Jimmy climbs a lifeguard stand.
Don't do it, Jimmy.
To get out of the way.
That's what yeah, I forgot that tagline. No lifeguard on duty.
Only for Benoit to shove it over, sending him crashing into the rest of the set.
I mean, a crazy Jimmy heart bump. He's probably 70 here. Just kidding, Jimmy.
Sullivan and the Crippler with more brawling, until Jackie nails a beach chair across Benoit's back, followed by Taskmaster ramming his head into more guardrails. And they begin to make their way back to ringside, where Sullivan delivers a pile driver on the concrete, before several elbow drops from Jacqueline and a double stomp from the Taskmaster.
Kevin Sullivan's double stomp always looks good.
Mm-hmm. And he's a stout dude.
He's a cannonball of a man.
And then at this time, Benoit was very slim-waisted, so I mean, he basically just stepped right through him.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like Balor's another guy that does it really well, and it's like, I've heard people say that, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, it might look devastating, but that guy just, it's one of those things like pinpoint accuracy. It's like, oh, I like make contact and lift up, and it still doesn't look like, I'm jumping into a pool.
The Crippler is then hit with a trash can lid when they return to the ring, where Benoit fires up with kicks, clotheslines, and right hands, only to be yanked out of the ring by Sullivan, where Hart gets a few shots in. Taskmaster then slams the Crippler's head into the steel steps, followed by ramming him crotch first into a ring post.
Posted.
And on to the guardrail. Now back in the ring, Benoit rallies by crotching Sullivan on the ropes, and a snap suplex for a 2 count. But Sullivan responds by biting the stomach of the Crippler.
Weird.
So Benoit counters by biting the Taskmaster's ear, before locking on the crossface.
Like, next time she licks your stomach, she's gonna taste me.
Ew. That's foul. I don't know why that upset me so much.
Sullivan crawls his way to the ropes for a break, only for the Crippler to apply it once again. But the Taskmaster again makes the ropes. Benoit stays on the attack with strikes until Sullivan avoids a charging Crippler in a corner, placing him in a tree of woe.
Whoa.
To nail running knees and stomps. And Jackie then grabs a wooden chair, with the Taskmaster yelling at her to give it to him. So she does.
She wasn't having it, though.
Right over his head. Allowing Benoit to fly off with a diving headbutt for the pin. And the win. Post-match, Jimmy berates Sullivan, saying he let everybody down. But the Taskmaster just shoves Hart away before walking away with tears in his eyes.
Never gonna forgive you for this.
It was a bummer to see. I mean, this is two WCW shows in a row where we have career-ending matches. And Sullivan has been wrestling for so long, and he's been pretty well featured, but not a draw or really of any interest to anybody for a long time. But at one point he was, and he has a good mind for the business, which could be debatable, but at one point he did. Or he's a more old school guy. The Dungeon of Doom doesn't quite hit, but at one point he was very important to the wrestling business, and it's sad to see, and he does a good job of holding it back, but I got a bit emotional seeing him get emotional.
Mean Gene then stops him in the aisleway and asks oh, no, that didn't happen.
No.
No.
Mean Gene has a little bit more respect for Kevin Sullivan than Medusa, I guess.
I guess so.
But we won't
your
see
career's
Sullivan.
over. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But we won't see Sullivan again
Ever?
for a couple of years. We'll have one more match with him.
Oh, okay. I mean, that chair spot looks incredible. They gimmicked that wooden chair with balsa wood or something, but it just fucking breaks into splinters.
If you watch her as she's taking that chair out, she handles it like it's ready to
Fabergé,
shatter in her hands. Yeah, she gingerly places it in the ring.
But it looks great when it breaks.
Yep.
And it looks more intense than a steel shot, even though it's obviously gimmicked.
So we go to our 6th match. Steve Mongo McMichael with Queen Deborah versus Jeff Jarrett for the WCW United States Championship. And the story behind this match was that the Horseman had kicked Double J out after he insulted Arn, McMichael, and Benoit. Flair even implied that he only let him in because Deborah had found him attractive. But she doesn't feel that way anymore.
Sure you don't.
So after Jarrett poses with the belt, Mongo steals it away and does the same, which doesn't make Double J very happy. So he takes it back from the ref to pose some more. But once the match gets going, Jarrett takes McMichael down before doing some more strutting and posing. But Mongo catches Double J with a sidewalk slam and a chop block to send Jarrett out to the floor. Now once he returns to the ring, the two men go into a test of strength.
Why?
Only for Double J to throw knees to gain the advantage.
That's why.
But
Exactly.
McMichael counters with a high knee and a clothesline that sends Jarrett out again. And Double J this time drags Mongo out to the floor, where they brawl, ramming each other into the steps, followed by McMichael choking Jarrett with a cable and dropping elbows across the throat. Now back in the ring, Mongo continues the attack with a press slam and a power slam, before going for a running knee in a corner. Only for Double J to avoid, which allows him to pounce on the hurt leg with multiple chop blocks and attempting a figure four.
I do love that his chop blocks he does from the 3-point stance.
Yep.
Rubbing it in.
Yeah, exactly. Jarrett healing it up. He's good at it.
Deborah, with briefcase in hand, then climbs up to the apron to distract Jarrett and the ref. But Double J just grabs the briefcase away from her to clock McMichael twice for the pin and the win.
I don't know if I'd say he grabbed it from her. It's kind of like she was giving it to him.
I did look back. She does play off like he took it from her.
Oh my, he took my briefcase.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know.
Post-match, the commentators don't understand what just happened until they spot Deborah applauding Double J.
Mm-hmm.
And the Queen says, "Am I the best or what?"
She also says, I was never leaving that belt.
And hugs Jarrett, leaving all of the commentators appalled.
I mean,
The harlot. The Jezebel. Trollop.
And I have to say this.
Trollop's the best.
The Horsemen just can't get away from real-life wives betraying their real-life husbands storylines, can they?
Nope.
No.
You're gonna get rid of one of them, they're gonna shine that light even brighter.
It's like,
You're gonna put a crown on her and everything.
I mean, this was fine, but it's been going on for a long time. It was nice to see.
I bet we get at least one more.
Yeah.
I
was
bet
gonna
we
say,
do.
it can't
I'm
be
sure.
full
I'm sure
closure.
we do. But it just felt nice instead of them like teaming up and just like pussyfooting back and forth. Like it felt nice to just be like, all right, well we're reaching a crescendo, so maybe both these men can move on. Because I'm interested what Jarrett might do. And
What
you
about
know,
Mongo? You don't care about his future?
I don't think Mongo's. I think Mongo has learned a lot and gotten quite a bit better, but he's never gonna be
Good.
a star.
Okay, I was making sure. I was wondering what he was going to say there.
Yep.
He's never gonna be as good as Jeff Jarrett. That's for goddamn sure.
We go to Mean Gene on the stage area, and he plugs the hotline, where they're still speculating about DDP's partner, and there's unsigned wrestlers.
There's
backstage.
so many people backstage that aren't even supposed to be there.
Who could
Not
it
even under
be?
contract.
Yeah.
Call 91900-909-9900.
Number
Find out.
redacted.
Okerlund then sends us to a commercial for Road Wild.
Cool. Back to Sturgis.
It was formerly called Hog Wild,
Okay,
Was.
that's the name.
but Harley Davidson sued WCW over the trademark, so they had to change the name.
That's fine. I mean, you
Does
know,
Harley Davidson have a Hog Wild, or do they just own the rights to the name Hog?
I think they used Hog Wild as part of their advertising.
yeah. I also think
okay.
that Road Wild and Hog Wild are both totally fine and interchangeable names. Neither of them are great or awful.
I just wonder if we're still going to have that same cool dirt road to the ring that we
I
had
bet
before.
do.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
During the commercials, we see the Steiners greet other bikers on the road, asking where they're going, with them responding Sturgis. And the narrator then asks what happens when you mix bikers and wrestling. The answer is, somebody's getting their ass kicked. Call to order now.
Say the answer is...
Too soon, Shawn Michaels. Too soon.
Yeah, it's like if they get drunk together.
We then go backstage.
They all vote for Donald Trump.
We then go backstage, and in a black and white video, Hollywood Hogan says it's finally nice to find another champion. A dog and a fire hydrant in Dennis Rodman.
The fuck?
That Daytona Beach doesn't stand a chance because Rod the Bod destroyed the whole town last night.
Is the idea that, like, Hogan is the dog and Rodman is the fire hydrant and they are like peas in a pod? Emphasis on pea? I'm just asking.
No clue.
Because we all know dogs love peeing on fire hydrants, and they love those inanimate objects. But I'd say that Rodman is the better and more interesting personality in the real world than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and he's here to. I mean, typically fire hydrants are red, and Hogan is known for red and yellow. So yeah.
Okay.
Dennis is here to piss all over.
I mean, he's a Chicago Bull, red.
The business.
And he is black.
True, I guess he is. Bulldogs. The Bulls are red. Yeah. Okay.
But either way, it makes no sense.
Was he still on the Bulls at this time, or had he already jumped to a different team?
No, he's on the Bulls.
He's still on the Bulls.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, early to get his name, I believe he was on.
I think
it was
like a
the
Spurs.
Pistons.
He's on the Pistons
Yeah.
at first.
Yeah, the Pistons were like the bad boys. They wore black socks and played dirty.
Robinson says they're going to tear the town apart and that they need to accept it.
Rodman.
And Hogan chimes back in to praise Rod the Bod's conscience, that he saved lives by busting people in the skull, leaving the wart-infested giant and the Hollywood wannabe Luger laying in the dust. Rodman then rattles off the bigger they are, the harder they fall, before Hogan says the sports world is all watching, because everyone loves watching a natural disaster, and that Rod the Bod will put the icing on his cake.
Wait, typhoon and earthquake are here?
Followed by Rodman is NWO for life. He's a dog in a fire hydrant, and he also puts the icing on Hogan's cake.
I mean, these guys should make out already. It's crazy. They did that promo where they were like laying in the ring. Or that was him and
that was him and Bischoff.
That was him and Bischoff. Like, NWO is getting very queer-coded.
Like, Brutus is sitting at home in front of his TV.
With his pants down.
Could have been me.
Could have been me.
Could have been me.
So we go to our 7th match. Scott Hall and Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, the
with
moment
Miss
we've all
Elizabeth
been waiting for, y'all.
versus Diamond Dallas Page and a mystery partner.
With Kimberly.
So the story behind this match was that since Hall helped Savage win at Great American Bash, Diamond Dallas Page challenged them to a tag match. But he wouldn't reveal his partner because he likes surprises. Page would then be attacked by the NWO, with Sting making the save, while a couple of new faces would hit our TV screens in Raven and Kurt Hennig. And the former Mr. Perfect was even offered a spot in the Four Horsemen by Ric Flair.
I mean, what a good fit.
Now, on the go-home Nitro, Macho would have a warm-up match with La Parka, only to be hit with a diamond cutter. Mask removed, and it was DDP, making the cover for the win.
I mean, that's a really fun television spot.
So Scott comes out with both tag belts, but no Nash, followed by Page and Kimberly entering, but they then point to the entrance to welcome...
Who can it be coming through that door?
Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him wrestle since SummerSlam 1993.
Damn.
Episode 100.
It feels forever ago. And for good reason, because it was.
But the last time we saw him was at In Your House 11, Buried Alive, episode 223.
And I find it funny, him standing across the ring from Razor and Macho, because wasn't there a Survivor Series or a couple Survivor Series where he was the perfect partner or the perfect replacement? And both of them were involved. Yeah. Okay. Make sure I'm remembering right.
And I mean, Macho and Page feud happened before Macho went full NWO, didn't it? So it's been going on for quite a while.
No.
Or didn't? It was after he went NWO?
Yeah.
I guess so, because then he did the whole, like,
Fuck you, I'm
Playboy
NWO and
thing,
you're not.
Yeah.
So DDP flusters Savage early on with elbows, forearms, and clotheslines that sends Macho out to regroup, where he throws chairs and random items while throwing a tantrum.
Why is there pieces of plant in the ring?
People keep throwing shit in the ring.
I mean, yeah,
They're at the beach.
they're wild out here. It's beach culture.
It's seaweed.
Yeah, light beer and cocaine. They're getting wild.
Hall tags in and demands Kurt, and he gets his wish, where he mocks Hennig for being pudgy, throwing his toothpick, which just gets him slapped. Kurt then nails a knee lift, an atomic drop, a Manhattan drop, and a clothesline, followed by a neck snap. Now Page continues the attack to Scott with a pancake after a telegraphed back body drop, before knocking Savage off the apron. DDP continues with more elbows to Hall, only for the outsider to fire up with a clothesline in a corner, followed by Macho hitting one from the apron as well. And Page is worked over by the NWO with double axe handles, chokes, turnbuckle smashes, and shots to the midsection. Because he's hurt and he's still bandaged up.
Yeah.
And DDP is yanked out to the floor, where Savage tosses him into the steel steps, before tossing him back in, where Page rallies with right hands and a Manhattan drop, followed by making attack. And Hennig chops away on Macho, but he hurts his back when he's whipped to the ropes, as DDP was holding onto them, trying to stabilize himself. So Kurt rolls out and smacks Page in the back of the head
Doesn't appreciate it.
and leaves to the back,
Can't believe it.
allowing the NWO to use the opening to nail an outsider's edge and a flying elbow for the pin and the win.
Well, that was fast.
Also, before Macho, he goes up for the elbow. He just spits directly on Kimberly, and it is so vile.
Post-match, the NWO prevent Kimberly and officials from approaching the ring, with the commentators wondering what just happened. Was it an NWO plot or a misunderstanding? But they finally leave, so Kim checks on her husband, while the crowd chants DDP as they stumble their way to the back, with Kimberly saying Page picked a loser of a partner.
Incredible way to continue to build DDP because he is very over.
He's very over, but it makes him look very stupid that you think of
I mean,
a WWE guy is going to come into WCW and not be, or sorry, WWF, come into WCW and not be with the other WWF guys. Come on now.
that's a decent
You're
point,
not doing your
but I didn't
research.
think of it quite exactly that way. But also, faces are supposed to be altruistic, which is the reason why he decided to believe the guy.
But he's supposed to see these are his friends in the NWO. He was friends with them, and he doesn't have any point in or any problem with beating the shit out of them and putting them in their place. So
a good heel is always
you
smarter
do
than
research,
a baby
Dallas. Come on, Dally.
By the way, do you guys know what was actually supposed to happen?
No, I have no clue.
DDP was actually supposed to low bridge the ropes,
And he was supposed to flip backwards.
and he was supposed to flip backwards out of the ring.
Yeah.
And so him just running into the ropes and being like stopped and like not going over, it kind of felt a little weird.
It did feel weird, but I got the idea.
Ow, my back.
It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't not work, but I can understand the low bridge makes
Would have worked better.
it would have worked better, where he like tumbles to the ground and gets up angry.
Yep.
So we go to our 8th match. Roddy Piper versus the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
And my thought at this point is, hell yes. And also, why was this match not sold throughout the pay-per-view? I feel like they didn't talk much about it.
That's not the main event.
It was not in
You told us last week that there could only be one main event.
I
This
agree.
isn't the main event.
I agree, but it is Piper and Flair. Give me a fucking break.
It's not
You
Dennis
can
Rodman, though.
you can still talk about it. That's all I'm saying.
It's not Dennis Rodman.
I know. I agree that it's neither of them play for the Bulls. Neither of them.
It's Dennis Rodman that puts.
Neither of them fucked Madonna. Like, it's.
Where's-
I get it,
7,851.
Thank you.
but they could have. They sold. They talked. They,
I don't know if that's the actual
Yeah.
number. It sounds
Throughout
like
the whole
yeah.
show, they talk about Macho and
I gotta
DDP.
look.
A lot of it focusing, of course, on the mystery partner. But this is Ric Flair and Roddy Piper.
7,851. Nicely done.
Two of the
Matthew.
best to ever do it, and two men that have no commonality in the way they did it.
I mean, it's old news.
Yeah.
They've been fighting since 1982.
People have ripped off Flair to varying degrees of success. Nobody has ever successfully
Like we saw
ripped off what
2
Piper
matches
did.
ago.
Piper is truly unique in that way.
Yeah. Rhonda, if you're listening, remember that.
I mean,
You're not rowdy.
she's not. She's kind of sleeping.
So the story behind this match was that Piper wanted answers for what happened at Great American Bash,
We all want answers.
with Nate saying the NWO jumped him backstage. But Roddy wasn't convinced and started making jokes at the Nature Boy's expense. Flair would then spend the next few weeks mocking Roddy, but on the go-home Nitro, Piper would rip Nature's suit right off of him,
Uh-oh.
leaving him in his boxer shorts, only for the fight to continue until the Horseman would stop Roddy. So we get that classic shot of Nature Boy in his boxers in the
Yeah.
ring, which was always a fun one that they show like all the time.
Personal issues draw money, and it's Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. Ric Flair being embarrassed by Roddy Piper is totally worth mentioning.
Yeah, because
For the last 2 hours, it's totally worth mentioning at least one time. That's all I'm saying.
So Piper controls early on with punches, chops, and slaps that causes a Flair flop, before a whip to the corner for a Flair flip, only for Roddy to hit a clothesline that knocks the Nature Boy down to the ground.
Yeah.
And Piper follows out to ram Nate into a railing, a back body drop, and smash his head into a ring post.
Posted.
Before they return to the ring, where the Nature Boy begs off. But Roddy stays on the attack with a choke in a corner, forcing the ref to break it up, and allowing Flair to chop block Piper from behind.
When Piper comes down to the ring, he is all business. Flair has his big smile and his big epic music, but Piper's here for all business. He tells stories with his face so incredibly well, which just makes sense why he's the best wrestler turned actor. Another thing is that I noticed, Piper, we've been calling him, the icon for a while. Is he the first icon? I mean, Sting, when did they start calling Sting the icon Sting? Was
WWE.
Is that WWE?
I think.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
So Nate starts working him over with chops, right hands, stomping on the knee, until he applies the figure 4, where he continues to slap Roddy. But Piper is able to turn it over, forcing the Nature Boy to release the hold. Now Flair telegraphs a back body drop, so Roddy nails a swinging neck breaker and goes back to choking Nate. Only for him to go low, and the Nature Boy is back on the attack with more chops and right hands, until Piper fires up with jabs and a knee drop to Space Mountain, followed by a back body drop and a clothesline that sends Flair out to the floor.
I mean, the crowd is hot. This is not great technical wrestling. This is great grudge wrestling. Love to see it.
Roddy follows out again for more chops and eye rakes shared between the two, when the match would make its way back inside, where Piper locks on a sleeper momentarily as Nate immediately nails a jawbreaker to escape, making the cover with leverage for a 2 count. Now more chops from the Nature Boy before heading up top, only for Roddy to meet him there to press slam Flair off and apply a figure 4 of his own. But Nate crawls his way to the ropes, and while the ref is breaking the hold, the Nature Boy retrieves a weapon from his boot, swinging at Piper, but it's blocked, with Roddy just stealing it away to swing away at Flair, knocking him down. And as Piper goes to make a cover, the Horsemen come running down to the ring, distracting the ref. So Benoit is able to make his way into the ring with a diving headbutt, only for Roddy to move in time, causing Nate to take the blow.
Hell yeah, dude.
And the ref then goes to remove the Crippler from the ring, so Mongo jumps in and delivers a tombstone piledriver. And as the Horsemen leave to the back, Flair crawls his way to make the cover, for the pin. And no, Piper kicks out.
And just to give Mongo his flowers, great looking tombstone pile driver, and good on Piper for trusting somebody as inexperienced as Mongo to give him a pile driver. Mongo's not a guy we see give pile drivers regularly.
No, and
he's very strong.
As he picked him up for the tombstone,
I was scared.
That was my initial reaction was,
Don't do it.
What the hell is he going to do?
But it looked great.
Yeah.
Roddy absorbs some chops, throws some wild punches before tossing Nate to the ropes, catching him with a sleeper.
Yeah.
Taking the Nature Boy down to the mat with the ref raising the arm. Once, twice, 3 times for the stoppage.
Amore.
And the win.
How about that?
I
So the
love it.
2 greatest champions of the 80s and 90s, early 90s at least, have both, within the last year, been put to sleep by the icon, Roddy Piper.
I mean,
One Mr. Hogan and one Mr. Flair, so I think that says all we need to know about who's actually the best.
I loved this.
Bret Hart.
Yeah. I absolutely adored this.
Sure, I guess he did beat
It
him,
was fucking just perfect American territory wrestling stuff, and it's like one of the like marquee matches of the last like 40 years of wrestling, like of people that like can still do the thing and that are still like remembered.
Maybe that's why they didn't build up this match, because
they didn't have to.
Yeah, it doesn't need it. You don't have to sell it of, here, watch this match with Dennis Rodman against Lex Luger and the Giant. Watch this match with Dennis Rodman against Lex Luger and the Giant. Watch this match with Dennis Rodman and Hulk Hogan against Lex Luger and the Giant. Because half the people, if even half the people, aren't going to want to watch Lex Luger and the Giant against Hogan versus Dennis Rodman, because what the fuck?
But I mean,
Dennis
like,
Rodman.
the crowd was incredibly hot for Piper and Flair because they'd be crazy not to.
Yeah.
Like, if this show was in my town tomorrow and I had no interest in anything else on the show, but Piper and Flair were on it, I would pay the price of admission. Even and if it was, and I'd be happy and pleased that this was the match that I got.
So we go to our 9th match. Lex Luger and the Giant versus Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman with Macho Man Randy Savage. And Michael Buffer makes our announcements for this one. So let's get ready to find out who writes this guy's cue cards.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's some of the highlights. Luger's famous for the Rack of Doom.
The Rack of Doom.
Rod the Bod is so good because he's as bad as he wants to be. And that's very, very bad. And the worst one, Hollywood is 275 pounds of talent, power, and danger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is no the. It is just Giant.
Yep. Giant. Yeah. But they point out that he is a 2-time champion.
Yes.
Believe it or not. Even when he was champion, nobody wanted it, and he was not convincing. But he has gotten better.
So Lex and Hogan trade holds and shoulder blocks with lots of posing before they go into a
Son of a bitch.
test of strength.
Is there like one in every match?
Absolutely.
Good God.
The Hollywood immediately hits a cheap shot, leading to right hands, eye rakes, choking in a body slam. But he misses a leg drop.
What? The leg drop? But that's what he beat Andre the Giant with.
Luger's right back up to take control with a slam of his own, sending Hogan to his corner to make a tag. And Rodman stalls every time Lex gets close to locking up, until Rod the Bod hits an arm drag that just makes everybody go crazy.
Well, I mean, it's because it doesn't look bad. It kind of makes sense because obviously he's incredibly athletic, but he is a string bean compared to most wrestlers. But it does look very good.
It looks bad, but, you know, he's only as bad as he wants to be.
I don't think
And
it
that's
looks
very,
that
very
bad.
bad.
I don't think it looks that bad. Because when Macho came out, I was like, oh, well, they obviously trust him to cover Rodman's inability and Rodman does only a couple of things, but he sells it with charisma, and the things he does do don't look horrific. They look awkward because he's like 7 feet tall and very thin, but...
I like the comments that there were made by the announcers as well of, what about his nose rings? What about... Yeah, they were just going on about his piercings.
Yeah, and he has like some makeup on his eyes and stuff. It's like, I mean, yeah. I guess that was weird at the time.
Hit him in the face.
Yeah, what would they say now about?
Well, I mean, yeah, because you remember Shawn Michaels coming down to the ring. Obviously, he didn't have any facial piercings, but that was part of his deal. Was let me take off my earrings because I don't want somebody to grab a hold of them and rip them out while I'm wrestling.
Yeah.
It's respect for the business.
But he had those dangly johns.
Mm-hmm.
Luger returned the favor multiple times, including to Hollywood, to send the NWO out to regroup. Now back in the ring, Rodman tosses Lex to the ropes, and he leapfrogs him, and nails a shoulder block to again send everyone into crazy mode. But Luger responds with a clothesline that sends Rod the Bod to a corner, to tag out with Hogan making empty threats, as Lex asks the crowd if they're ready for the Giant, making the tag out as well. And Hollywood and the big man go to lock up, only for Hogan to get a cheap shot in, allowing him to hit several clotheslines, turnbuckle smashes, chokes, and chops. But the Giant just absorbs it all. He calls for the chokeslam, which sends the Hulkster bailing out to the floor in fear.
Rodman sucks chant.
And once he returns, the two men go into a
Kill me now.
test of strength. But another cheap shot puts Hogan in control, until the Giant delivers an atomic drop, forcing him to make a tag. And Rodman steps in and nails a knee to the gut, before whipping the big man to the ropes, leapfrogging a few more times, until the Giant catches him for a bear hug, followed by an atomic drop and a spanking.
Yeah, lots of errant trash thrown into the ring during this match.
The big man with a double choke lift of Rod the Bod when Hollywood would clip the knee with a kick, allowing the NWO to begin double teaming the Giant with chokes, clotheslines, double axe handles, biting, big boots, hip tosses, and just piling on for a cover for a 1 count. And the Giant makes it to the corner, bringing in Luger to clean house with clotheslines, but he goes to run the rope, where Rodman would kick him from the apron, allowing Hogan to deliver a clothesline. Hollywood then would work over Lex with a back suplex for a near fall, more right hands and chokes that brings the ire of the ref, allowing Savage to even get a few shots in from the floor. Hogan hits a body slam and a leg drop, makes a nonchalant cover for a 2 count, but then he keeps up the attack with headbutts and stomps, bringing in Rod the Bod for back elbows and chokes with his boots. And Rodman goes for a whip, but it's reversed. But he moves out of the way of a charging Luger, allowing the Hulkster to clothesline him from the apron as well. And Lex decides to make a tag, but Macho Man is on the apron distracting the ref. So when the Giant comes in, Randy Anderson stops him, only for the Giant to just ignore the warning and go right after the NWO with headbutts, big boots, and a double noggin knocker. Now all of a sudden, Sting walks down the aisle.
It's Sting!
While Rodman lays out the ref. So the Giant lifts Rod the Bod up for a chokeslam, when Sting would step over the ropes and nail the big man with a shot from the bat, knocking him out of the ring. The Stinger would then point the bat at Hogan before stepping over the ropes and leaving, allowing Hollywood and Rodman to work over Luger, with Rod the Bod holding Lex, but he moves in time to avoid Hogan charging in with a forearm. Luger then picks Hollywood up into the rack.
Rack of Doom.
With Nick Patrick sliding in for the submission and the win.
That reformed Nick Patrick is doing pretty awesome here lately.
I mean, they probably weren't paying him very well. He was like, damn, why did I do that?
Post-match, Rodman attacks, so Lex puts him in the rack as well, followed by Savage getting the same treatment.
all while trash is tossed into the ring.
Shivani, he's so mad about the Sting attack that he yells to rack him too. As the NWO retreats, complaining that Luger and the Giant cheated. As we fade to black.
Uh-huh. Oh, because Sting. Gotcha. Like, how the hell did they cheat?
Well, I mean, they did their normal heel stuff. I think Hogan did a better job.
Even if he won clean, Hogan would say they cheated. I mean, that's just Hogan's stick.
I mean, also, Hogan, I think he did a very good job of... I mean, he kind of... Even when he's a face, he's a heel. But he does a pretty good job of healing in this match.
It was Hogan that said it. That's right. I was reading the notes here, and I saw Tony's name at the first there, and that's where I was confused. I'm like, why was he talking about Luger and Giant cheating? Now I get it.
Of course,
Get it.
If you didn't figure it out,
Yup.
Sting,
with his long hair and beard poking out from under his plastic mask on his face.
Also, he came down from the back, which Sting has done in the past, but recently the gimmick has been coming from the rafters. Mm-hmm. And on a pay-per-view, you would assume he might come
and he was
from
almost
the rafters.
as tall as the Giant.
He was a very large man.
Stepped over the ropes.
So 2 and 2 plus 4 equals X equals 16. Kevin Nash was Sting?
If it wasn't Nash, it was Razor, but it was a much taller man than Sting.
I know you're all surprised.
Yeah,
it's probably the surprise of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was one of those things where lower resolution and could trick you, because like he came down, I was like, oh yeah, it's Sting, and then I could tell the mask was
probably
weird.
If you're in the crowd, there might be a moment when you don't know, but once he steps over the ropes, you kind of go, wait a second.
But they did that pointedly.
Yeah.
That was the whole. Yeah, it's like they're going full soap opera with this stuff.
And when his hair is suddenly in the middle of his back, it's a little something different.
So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Bash at the Beach 1997?
I think that I might be higher on this than you guys, but I'll say this. It was a better show than I expected.
I'll give that same response. It was a better show than I don't even know. No, I'm going to change my wording already.
Okay.
The highs were high, the lows were low. It wasn't a good mix. You know, we had mentioned it in the very beginning there. Maybe if it was arranged differently, but it seemed like it was one good match, one bad match, one good match, one bad match, one good match, one bad match, and it just as soon as you got excited about something, then you knew, all right, well, now some shit's about to happen, so I'll just sit here and, smoke another joint or whatever. At least that was me.
Smoke another joint. Let's get to the point.
I don't quite agree with the one good match, one bad match. I think they front-loaded the show with the work rate stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got into the entertainment and characters. So that's how I would have probably mixed and matched a little bit more to have more of a flow. But overall, I do think the show it's just an average show. I didn't dislike it.
No, I don't think it was a difficult watch.
Actually, I found it kind of, I struggled to get through it a little bit. But I think it was just because of my expectations on some of the matches, knowing exactly what was probably going to happen, especially in like those last 3. It was just kind of like, okay, this is what we're going to get. Let's do this.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where they were going with any of those matches, so it's like I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I can see Lex and the Giant just eating it.
I fell asleep during the main event 3 times and had to rewind to catch up or to try and figure out what was going on.
Shane had too many joints.
It was just a boring-ass match.
I mean, there was tons of stalling in that last match.
I mean, that's why I said Hogan was doing a good job of being a heel. Rodman shouldn't be there, but I understand what they're doing.
Like, it'd be different if I was watching it at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and falling asleep repeatedly. It was at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just
having an afternoon nap.
Yeah, like a lazy Tuesday. But I guess maybe I was too lazy, and I just kept falling asleep, and then I'd wake up right at the very end of it, and then I'd have to backtrack, and then I'd wake up and have to backtrack, and I just, if I could take the 5 matches possibly from this show that I enjoyed more than the others, I think it would make a great in your house style show of just those few matches.
It's a good hour 40-minute show. It's not a great 2:45 show.
Mm-mm.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? There. All right. Fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of this show?
Let me flip backwards here.
I already know one. It's Bobby Heenan's little, like, hey, we need today, I hear. Or, or the,
it's like, where's today? Yeah.
Here, I'll take care of the replay. Take it, today. Like, those 2 lines just cracked me up completely.
Yeah, Bobby was on one for sure. I think that Jericho and Dragon was good and well put together. I think that Benoit and Sullivan has been going on for a long time, kind of off and on, but this may have been their best match.
It was definitely their best.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
bathroom match.
The bathroom match was pretty good.
It was pretty good, but I think this was better. They both seemed more intense. Obviously, Kelvin Sullivan.
I think the addition of Jacqueline probably pushed this one over a little bit.
Yeah, I gave him a bit of an out. I don't think Jarrett and McMichael was bad. Steiner's and Muta and Chono was good, but like I said, it's not Steiner's and Hase.
Yeah, it's an Americanized version of the match.
It's still great to see. It's better than Steiner's versus really anybody else in the WCW at the moment.
You need some Public Enemy in your life.
Yeah, like Kurt Hennig showing up and then it doesn't. It's like, yeah, I get the. Like, I get it, but it doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth when it's over. And then Piper and Flair, I absolutely adored.
I enjoyed Piper Flair. I enjoyed the...
Also, shout out to Lex. Crowd's behind Lex. And I love to see the crowd behind Lex. And, yeah.
I enjoyed Dragon and Jericho. I enjoyed Muta's makeup more than I enjoyed the match.
About Benoit and Sullivan.
I mean, that was a good one. I'll give him that one. I enjoyed that one. I mean, for it being a... I don't typically have many nice things to say about Kevin Sullivan matches, but I enjoyed that one, and I'm hoping it was the... I mean, I guess it is the final one. We've already established that it'll be a couple of years before we saw him again, so...
I will say, considering the type of match that it was... and the time that it was given, it didn't feel as long as it was. So, like, that's a pretty big compliment for that style of match.
Yeah.
If it's a 13-minute match and they're just, like, brawling all over the place, but it didn't feel like... 13-minute match brawling feels like 30. We've watched plenty of ECW. And this had a good flow. The intensity is what made it work. And it had the slight intrigue of Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Kind of being disagreeable, almost like she wanted to be the star. But I mean, I don't know. What did you guys think about Piper and Flair? Because I adored it.
I liked it. I mean, I don't know, or I don't remember where it goes from here, but...
I mean, I don't assume that it goes anywhere.
Flair goes back to being a face.
Oh.
I mean, yeah.
It was like a 1 month turn into a heel,
okay,
so he could face
a little
Piper,
personal rivalry,
and then he turns back into a face. I think that's the reason why people have an issue with this match, because like almost everything that when I was doing my research,
the context of
the match, like, yeah, Piper and Flair sounds like a great idea, but
there's not enough of a build.
Like, literally, Flair's been face ever since he came back from injury.
So it's just a beef between friends?
And then just to flip him heel just so that they
can do this.
So they can do this one match, and then he turns right back to face because the Horsemen are face now.
Yeah. I mean, out of context, the match works, and they have that small amount of context, but it's like, yeah, Flair wasn't there for him. Roddy's obviously, like, a pretty... irrational and emotional guy, so makes sense that he's pissed off.
I mean, it is very much an old school match.
Yeah.
I don't hate the match by any means.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm like looking through this and I'm just like, I don't think I hate any of the matches.
You just don't love any of them.
I just don't love any of them. And like we said, we wish the maybe the matches were in a little bit of a different order to affect flow a little bit better.
Because there's no, like, the piss match is the first match, and like the other piss match, if you wanted to call it that, it's a very rude thing to say, calling any match that, but it is what it is. But
most
Technico
people would say
Rudo,
probably the six-man.
But the six-man was insane to look at, so it'd be hard to like walk away from a car wreck.
Because see, I would put the six-man to start off the show.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
And I would actually move Benoit and Sullivan to number 2. Because you build up that intensity. You then go to Mortis and Wrath.
Yeah.
Because you've now had high
energy.
this high energy, high intensity. Then the crowd. I mean, and I thought Mortis and Wrath. I thought that match was actually a decent match. It's not bad by any means.
And Ernest the Cat Miller was better than I expected.
You then,
honestly,
until the platoon ending.
Yeah, he overacted a bit, but he did a bunch of fun kicks.
But then you go into.
He's also very slight compared to most wrestlers.
Then you go into the Cruiserweight match, followed by the Steiner tag team match,
and then
you're at 5, and then you have your last. You have Mongo and Jarrett after that.
So you're doing all of the real feuds?
That way you don't have tag teams back to back.
Your final 4 matches, I think, have to be your final 4 matches. Or your final 3 matches definitely have to be the final 3. Mongo and Jarrett are just there because it is a championship match.
Yeah.
One. But also, to me, again, if we're going to have a bathroom match, it's a Mongo McMichael match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it was.
Because
I don't think it was bad.
But like once again, you have because Jericho and Dragon are going to be high energy, and then you go to Steiner's and Chono and Muta, which should be high intensity. Mm-hmm. And if maybe they given them a couple more minutes, they could have built up, probably built it up a little bit more. But then you go into this McMichael Jarrett. So I mean, it's just a little bit of a rearranging. Like, sure, would we like to have Dragon and Jericho closer to the main event so that we have a better match closer to the end?
But
yes,
but it doesn't make sense.
But DDP's a main eventer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And for him to be in the third to last match is kind of crazy. Piper and Flair, main eventers, semi-main event.
Yeah.
And Hogan's going to be in the main event. We know that, no matter what.
Yep, and it's against Giant and Lex. And Lex
who are also main eventers.
And Lex has been so up and down the card forever, but right now he's having a moment. Kind of like how Sid was having a moment pretty recently as well.
I enjoyed Sid's moment.
I did
more.
Too. I agree, but I think that Lex is there, but Lex is never going to be as intense as Sid Vicious.
So, I mean, is there anything that's just, like, super disappointing? Because, I mean, we kind of, like, most, like, best moments and disappointing, we've kind of, like,
honestly,
rolled all together there.
Considering,
a little bit.
Like, yeah, Rodman couldn't do much, but what he did do was passable. So I gave it a huge pass when he came in and did the few things that he did do. It's like, okay, well, he is taking it seriously, but how long has he been doing this? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
6 months?
Yeah,
it's not 6 months.
And
he's also a professional fucking basketball player.
There are many celebrities that come in, and I just go and I roll my eyes because you can tell they don't put in the work. I feel like Rodman at least put the work in to do what he could.
And he was charismatic whenever he wasn't in the ring.
Yeah.
And he was an actual somebody that
he's a fire hydrant.
More people have heard of in the past than the ones in the past, like your Kevin Greens.
I mean, he's the biggest guy since Lawrence Taylor that has done a stint in wrestling. Because you have plenty of guys that played professional football where they weren't stars or whatever. They retired due to injury and got into wrestling. But people that came in as celebrities, it's like Mr. T, probably the biggest like Mr. T and Rodman and Lawrence Taylor are like 3 of the most famous people that have done any kind of wrestling thing. And I think Mr. T probably did the least good.
Yes.
But we wouldn't be here without him.
I mean, we love Mr. T.
So how about best performer of the night?
It's a tough one. I mean, Piper, I love him so much, and he's been back for a little bit, but this felt better to see him in this just kind of... It may not have been built up or as warranted, but felt like he was angry, and he sold it the whole time.
I'm gonna give mine to...
Sting!
No.
I'm kidding.
Honestly, the one that stands out to me is Deborah.
She did a good job.
There's just something about her in there. She actually was believable in her...
I think it might be because...
Her acting and her expressions and owning her little situation there finally instead of just being the...
Making the handoff questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive. Also, it's like kind of the first time that she's not like inert or annoying.
Yes. She had that little sunny glow about her.
Yeah, she's like, oh, what I'm about to do actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mine should be pretty obvious. I've mentioned him several times.
Michael Buffer?
Oh, it's Bobby Heenan.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
He cracked me up.
I mean, yeah, he was great on this show for sure.
And how about most surprising?
I mean, Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
Ernest the Cat Miller being as good as he was.
That was surprising too, because it's like
I remember his moments over the years, and he kind of goes in and out. There's a portion that I can remember where it's just nonstop eye rolling, but then he has...
I mean, with him, it's always going to be depending on his opponent.
Yeah, or how the match is set up. Yeah.
I mean, as we all know, who better than Chris Kanyon? And that's Mortis. So, like, you're in the ring with Mortis and you don't look good, you're just not good.
Yeah.
Somebody call his mama.
But yeah, Ernest, he did some wild kicks. We see a lot of guys that do kicks as a staple over the years, and he had some interesting ones that didn't look bad. No Mortal Kombat kicks, but, he knows better because he's actually a karate guy.
Karate Man.
That would be my wrestling name, Karate Man.
Ethan Page has already taken that one.
Oh, sorry. You can't have Curry Man either.
News to me.
Curry Man was taken.
Who's Curry Man?
He was in TNA.
Yeah, what's his...
Is it Shark Boy?
No, it's...
Or Chris Daniels.
There we go.
Oh, why was he Curry Man?
It's just a character that they came up with.
Stupid character that they did in TNA at one point.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cheerleader
Melissa.
Okay, I was thinking of like maybe like an Indian guy doing a comedy gimmick.
No, he wears like pantyhose over his head. You can't see his face. He's just
Curry Man. Okay.
He's Curry Man. Comes out and dances.
Okay, sounds awful.
Yeah, it's like their response to Naked Midian or something.
Okay,
Curry Man.
Okay.
And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The dusty finish.
Sting came in as the WCW International World Heavyweight Champion. The Nature Boy Ric Flair comes in as the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. When they would meet at Clash of the Champions 27 on June 23rd, 1994. The two men are back and forth to begin until Nate flops down face first in front of Sherry Martel, who's at ringside. Now, once back in the ring, the Nature Boy rakes the eyes and hits some chops, but the Stinger just asks for more before hip-tossing and drop-kicking Flair. Sting tries for a second drop-kick, only for Nate to avoid and looks to apply a figure four, but he's rolled up for a 2 count. The Stinger rallies with right hands and goes for a splash, only for the Nature Boy to move and going back on the attack, dropping Sting throat first across the ropes. Flair begins to work the leg as Sherry is cheering on the Stinger, making a cover with leverage, which Sting kicks out of, while Martel is telling the ref about the cheating. Nate continues with more chops and a back suplex before going for the figure four again, only to be kicked away, so the Nature Boy locks on a sleeper instead, but the Stinger escapes by ramming Flair into a turnbuckle. Sting goes on the attack with a vertical suplex, clotheslines, and a superplex, followed by heading up top for a splash, only for Nate to move in time and nail a vertical suplex of his own. But the Stinger no-sells to hip toss, drop kick, and press slam the Nature Boy, sending him out to the floor. And Sting looks to fly out with a crossbody, only for Flair to grab Sherry in front of him, causing her to take the blow. And the two men fight their way back into the ring when the Stinger would counter a hip toss into a backslide for a near fall. But Sting would then turn his attention back to Martel, checking to make sure she was okay, which would allow Nate to cradle him up from behind, grabbing the tights for extra leverage to unify the championships. The big gold belt, which had represented the international title, would move forward as the WCW World Heavyweight Championship around the waist of Ric Flair, until the biggest acquisition in the company's history would challenge at the very next show.
Boom, boom, boom. So this is, what, 89?
94.
94. Oh, shit.
The Red and Yellow Express is pulling into town.
Yeah, biggest acquisition.
The parade is about to begin. If it hasn't already, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think they showed the parade on this episode, on that show episode of the Clash.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They did. Now that I, yeah.
Next week, G1 Climax 1997.
Where's that gonna be?
I wonder.
All over Nippon.
Actually, it's all in just Tokyo. It's
Oh,
all
okay.
at the Rigoku.
Goku-Kun?
Okay, you got it. Yeah. And, not to pull the curtain back too far, but we have access to more of the G1 than we ever have before. So
We have every match.
it'll be a doozy.
Oh my.
Maybe even a two-parter. Who knows, guys?
Music from this week's show is Crash Test, and Lex Luger won our main event, so we play his music. Slammer by Derek Todd Sorensen.
Congratulations, Lex.
We finally get to hear your music.
You also, you don't get opportunities like this all the time. So we're happy to see it.
It's that. Owe it all to that Rack of Doom, man. The Rack of Doom. Oh, Buffer.
Big ups to Rodman for taking that, considering he is a man that jumps for a living and runs for a living to take a torture rack. Can't be good for your
It's not
spine.
that torturous.
Nah.
I know,
You
but
it just cracks someone's back.
Yep.
yeah.
Feels pretty good, actually.
I'm not getting either of you up in a torture rack.
If you like this episode or any of our other ones, rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts at. Do as Michael says.
5 stars for a 3-star show. Come on, bring it. They can't all be, Canadian Stampedes.
And if you have any questions, comments, concerns,
What should I make for Japan? We're going to Tokyo. It's been a little while since we've been there, so
a couple months or so.
give me some ideas. What food, what beverage? If there's a dessert that you think I should make or try and find or order on Amazon, something. Slide into our DMs. Give us a shout out on the old X, and let me know. We're going back to Japan.
That's right. And if you have any of those things, you can email us at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on X at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTO.
X.
We'll talk to you next week.